This is Middlesex Moments. I'm Jonathan Daube, interim president of Middlesex Community College. And my guest today is Representative Matt Lesser, representing Middletown, a piece of Middletown.
The greatest third of Middletown, the nicest third.
The nicest third, the greatest third, the third with the best people in it.
Absolutely, bar none. And Durham and Middlefield as well.
Oh, okay, okay. So isn't there an agricultural fair in Durham?
There is indeed, the Durham Fair.
I bet you show up at that.
I do every year, like clockwork.
So let's go back. You were a student at Wesleyan at one point, obviously. You're a graduate. What did you major in?
Studied history, trying to make new mistakes, not repeat the mistakes of the past.
And what years were you at Wesleyan?
I started in 2001, and at some point I will go back. I've got a few credits to finish up there, but class of 2005, and
you're a state representative. Surely they'll give you the credits.
You
experiential learning and all that.
I'm still waiting for my honorary degree, but I had a fantastic time at Wesleyan. Got involved in local government as a student, leader of the college Democrats there, and got more involved in over the time in the community, and decided to spend my life in the community.
And what made you decide to on Wesleyan in the first place?
Well, I have a lot of connections to the region. I have family in the area. I have a number of members of my family had gone to Wesleyan, and so
I think you were born in Washington, weren't you?
I was, yes.
Good place for a politician to be born.
May be, but nobody else in my family has gone down the political career before me. So I guess I'm.
So when you decided to go into politics, what did your family think of that?
I think they thought I was. They sort of had the same first thought that I did, which is that this was never something that I chose to do. It wasn't something that I been looking at from birth. Career in public service, but I sort of fell into it. I was recruited to run for a local office in Middletown, and I recruited to run for state representative.
What was the local office?
Planning and Zoning Commission in Middletown, and I fell into it, and actually fell in love with it. I love public service.
I can sense that. Sitting opposite you, taping this show, I can see the enthusiasm. No question about it. This is Middlesex Moments. I'm Jonathan Daube, and we'll be back momentarily. This is Middlesex Moments. I'm Jonathan Daube, interim president of Middlesex Community College, and my guest today is Representative Matt Lesser of Middletown and Durham and
Middlefield
and
Rockfall. Let's not forget Rockfall.
Okay. How many voters do you have there?
There are about a little over 1,000 residents of Rockfall.
Okay, well that's a large room full.
Absolutely.
If you've got them all in one place. Obviously, as we speak, there's a budget going through the legislature. Maybe we should explain. Some people don't understand. The governor proposes any governor, whichever party, proposes a budget. Then it goes through the mystery months. Then it goes to various committees in the legislature and this and that. And it goes to the Appropriations Committee, which is probably the most powerful committee, isn't it? I would think.
It's certainly a very powerful.
It feels like it. It feels like it. And then, of course, it goes to the House and the Senate, and hopefully there's an agreement. And we all know that the governor realizes that the state is broke, and he's kind of trying to spread the pain. So everybody's mad right now. What's your take on this whole thing?
Well, my take is that we have a $3.3 billion budget deficit at the moment. And the reason for it is very simple.
It was 3.4 the last time I heard.
Well,
that's great. You've already taken some strain off. Okay.
And the reason for it is very simple. Our neighbors are out of work. People don't have jobs. They're out of work. They're not paying taxes. And as a result, and instead they're receiving services. They're receiving unemployment benefits and other services.
Yep.
And the reason we're having a budget deficit and every other state in the country has a budget deficit is very simply because of the global economic recession. We got to get people back to work. But now we, as legislators and as Governor Malloy, realize we have to pass a budget. And so to fix that budget deficit, focusing on what we can do to create jobs is certainly been something that he's been talking about a lot. But he's also been talking about very tough choices that we have to make about where to cut, and in some cases where to increase revenues. I can't say that I like everything in Governor Malloy's initial proposal. There's a lot in there I don't, but I think it's
probably he doesn't like everything in his proposal.
Probably,
that's my guess.
And I don't think anybody runs for office because they want to have to make really painful choices about balancing the biggest deficit we've ever seen. I think if there's any solace to be taken out of the tough hand we've been dealt, it's that everybody doesn't like Governor Malloy's budget. He has spread the pain around. You saw last night he was in Greenwich at a town hall meeting, and the folks down in Greenwich felt that it unfairly singled out them, and then the folks in Middletown feel that it's unfairly singles out them too. So everyone, when you hear that everybody feeling that they're being picked on, maybe it in fact is a relatively fair start. Now, that said, there are a lot of issues with it. I think it unfairly puts a disproportionate tax burden on the middle class. And I think we can do something, and we're working with the administration to try to shift that off of folks who've been perhaps...
Well, the obvious question is if the middle class is hard hit, which it is, where do you go for the revenue that you need?
Right, and that's an excellent question. One of the things we keep on hearing is tax competitiveness. If Connecticut raises its taxes higher than other states on millionaires, then they'll leave, and that's true to some extent. But Connecticut actually currently has some of the lowest taxes in the region. Not on the middle class. We've got very high taxes on the middle class. But on those of us who are fortunate enough to make $1 million or more a year, we actually have much lower tax rates than people in New York, and people in Rhode Island, people in New Jersey. And
so very rich people listening to you are probably going off the road as we speak.
They may be, or I know a few of them, not too many. A number of them feel that what, we have done well in this state. We've been able to go to institutions of higher learning in this state. We drive on the roads, and if anybody's going to pay, we're happy to pitch in. So what I think I have a problem with is asking people, senior citizens who are struggling to get by as it is, to pay more when they have no more. And I think that's the trouble. It's not about demonizing or beating up on anybody, but very simply, who can if you have to raise taxes, and certainly I don't want to do that. Nobody wants to do it. What is the fairest and most sustainable way of doing it?
What is the single aspect of the Malloy budget proposal that you like most? And obviously, I'm then going to ask you what you like least. But what do you like most about it?
Well, I think it is a reasonable compromise. At least it's a. First of all, I think the thing I like most is that it's a balanced budget. And for 20 years, governors have proposed fake balanced budgets. They've moved numbers around. They have played with the actual size of the deficit in order to make everybody happy. We're not going to raise taxes. We're not going to cut spending. Voila, the budget deficit disappears.
So in your view, people might agree or might disagree, but this is an honest budget. It adds up.
It's a serious budget. It's a very serious budget. And so, if we're in serious times, and we have to be serious with the people of Connecticut. And this certainly is serious. I think as well, it is something that, it strikes a reasonable compromise. It doesn't say we're going to cut everything out of the social safety net. We're going to cut all of our programs, cut all of our colleges and universities. It doesn't say that. It says we're going to make some cuts. We're going to ask state employees to make considerable concessions. But we're not going to say, state employees, you have to balance everything, because that's not a serious proposal. We're asking state employees.
As we speak, the rumor mill is that not only are state employees being asked to give, but there will be massive layoffs. Is there truth to any of that?
Well,
this is the perception.
As of today, and this by the time our listeners hear it, things may change. The governor is meeting with the state employees, looking for $2 billion in concessions over the next 2 years. That is an extraordinary, historic concessions that he was asking for,
right.
More than any previous governor has ever asked for. Governor Rowell worked for months with state employees and got $750 million in concessions. So this is, I'm not a math major, but this is 3 times that. It remains to be seen whether or not $2 billion over 2 years is an achievable number, but it's what the governor is looking for, and that's an awful lot. Now, if the governor can't get those, he said yes, he's willing to look at layoffs and drastic cuts elsewhere, and that's something.
Well, the perception, and it may be wrong, but the perception is that even if he does get these concessions, that there will be layoffs of state workers. Is there an implied deal? I'm not asking you to announce it here, but is there an implied deal that if he gets the full amount, there will be minimal layoffs or no layoffs? Or is that in the air?
I mean, there have already been very minimal layoffs, and I think certainly as the governor reorganizes state agencies, and we've been looking to do that, reduce the number of state agencies. That maybe there will be small numbers of layoffs in terms of reducing duplicative functions. But no, I think the governor is focused on the bottom line, which is we need to achieve savings. His preferred way of doing that is not laying off people. For one thing, if you lay people off, if the reason we're in this mess is because the unemployment rate is so high, laying off 10,000 state workers is going to make the unemployment rate worse. It's not going the unemployment rate worse. It's not going to help us get out of this mess. So
help me with something. Why are people so? They seem to be so hostile to state workers. We both, I mean, in any group there are lazy bums, I'm sure, but we both know a whole lot of state workers who work very hard, and they clean the roads and they teach our kids and so on. Why is there this hostility to state workers out there?
I think it comes from a number of different places, and I agree with you that I think in many cases it's grossly unfair. But I think in the last 10 years, 20 years, we've seen a shift in this country where private sector workers have moved backwards, have lost their pensions, or switched to 401ks, and now in many cases employers aren't subsidizing them at all. They're paying more and more and more for health insurance. They're losing benefits. Their pay is not increased for most private sector workers over the last 20 years.
So in your view, they're sort of somewhat projecting from their own experience.
I think people see the public sector workers have rights, have benefits that they once enjoyed themselves, that have largely disappeared in a country where I think we've seen a disappearing middle class, and I think that that is that there's a certain amount of resentment. I just don't necessarily think it should be directed at the state workers. I think it's legitimate that people feel legitimate resentment that the middle class is disappearing, but blaming a state worker for that, I think, is the wrong way to go.
So overall, you feel that the governor's budget proposal at this point, you might not like some details, but it's an honest budget. It's something you can work with?
It's something I can work with, and I think it's a great starting point. And now the question is, as you like to say, the devil is in the details. We need to go through line by line. There are tax increases there that I very much dislike, that I cannot vote for. And I've told the governor's office this, and so we're now working on making an honest start, a better balance for the people.
This is Middlesex Moments. I'm Jonathan Daube, and we'll be back momentarily. This is Middlesex Moments. I'm Jonathan Daube, interim president of Middlesex Community College, and my guest today is Representative Matt Lesser. And we've been talking about the budget. What else is there to talk about? But I'm kind of interested in your life as a legislator. You told me that you get, 200 emails a day?
Something like that, yeah.
That's absurd, isn't it? How can you respond to 200? I mean, let's say I send you an email from out of district. I understand I'll be at the bottom of the pile, but most of them are probably from people in your district.
An awful lot of them are, yes.
How do you manage that?
It's
and I'm not encouraging people to send you emails right now.
Oh no, please do. I mean, that's why I have emails, and I respond to. I still make an effort to, and I do actually respond to every single email I get from a constituent myself. The reason I do it is because it's important that I'm accessible, even though we're in the thickest session right now and a ton of different issues. I remain accessible and available to the district. So a lot of emails, I'll be in a committee meeting that's running long, and I'll take a second to pull open my laptop and respond to a few there, or stay late. It's I actually find that the constituent services part of the job is my favorite part. It's all well and good to talk about the great issues facing the state, but helping a constituent who's in need is, at least for me, the most rewarding part.
And you're in your second term
Second
now.
term, yeah.
What's your biggest single surprise? As you ran for the legislature, and there you are. You've done 3 years probably now.
Yeah, well, in my third year. Yeah.
In your third year, what's the biggest surprise overall?
Well, there's an energy to the legislative process that I find fascinating. Sometimes it's not there. Sometimes you can be pushing an issue, you can be trying to fight for something, and you can spend years working on this issue. No matter what you do, you can't get anything done. There could be any number of reasons for it, but there's an inertia that sometimes develops in the process. And other times, you come up with an idea. For whatever reason, people say, oh my goodness, this is something we've got to tackle with now. There was an issue a couple years ago involving soup kitchens, a soup kitchen in Middletown, St. Vincent de Paul. And we were able to pass a law. We had the language, brought it, the Speaker of the House, the President of the Senate, the Attorney General, and the Governor. Everybody agreed, we need to get this done. And we actually had it from the drafting stage and signed into law in a week. The speed of the body changes dramatically, and you get this sort of an energy that sometimes certain issues take when they a momentum that they develop, and just watching the energy of the body is I think fascinating.
I shouldn't call it a pet project. That's belittling it. But what's your main personal issue in the legislature right now? What would if you could wave the proverbial magic wand? What would you be doing?
Well, I that's hard to say, because I'm working on I'm focusing on about 3 dozen pieces of legislation right now, that very closely.
3 dozen. Tell us the first 2.
Okay, so one of the biggest issues in the state is the price of electricity. We have the highest electric rates in the country. It's why it's the number one reason businesses are citing, particularly manufacturers, for why they're leaving the state and why they're not locating here. So
nobody will disagree with that.
And it's also a major, you ask seniors, who are on a fixed income, they see their electric bills
So
double.
what can Representative Matt Lesser add to?
So we've got 2 bills this year that are designed to lower electricity rates. And I can get into them in great detail if you want. They're both pretty significant. But the bottom line is we're reorganizing our state. We're consolidating our state's energy offices. We've got something like 2 dozen different offices around the state dealing with energy. We're combining them into one, and we're saying that the number one focus of this new.
Is there opposition to that?
Oh, absolutely.
What's the argument against?
Well, I think the argument against is, we're going to politicize their functions. We're going to lose their independence. And I think they may be right, and I think they should be politicized. And the direction of this new office, it's the new Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, is very simple: to achieve the lowest possible electric rates for consumers.
When you say something should be politicized,
yeah,
I can see our listeners driving off the road. What do you mean by that? That something should be politicized?
Well,
most people would not agree with you.
Well, in this case, I think the goal is accountability. Is saying we want the commissioner to have a job to do, which is to lower your electric rates and my electric rates. And we've articulated ways to do it. It's not just up in the air. But we were going to have somebody, and we're going to say your job. You're going to report to the governor, and your job is to lower electric rates in this state. Right now, we've got the Department of Public Utility Control is not accountable to the governor. They don't have that mission.
Who are they accountable to?
They're appointed by the governor, but the terms are staggered. They go beyond the term of a governor, so there's no direct accountability. Okay. And so the idea was to have an independent rate-setting body. And I get why that's the case, but I think we need to go away from independence towards a structure that is more focused on meeting the needs of the people of Connecticut. And if we're not doing it, throw out the governor and bring in a new governor does do that. And I think that's democracy.
So realistically, when do you think the citizen will see rates either stabilize or go down?
Well, we did see a decrease in, I don't know how many folks noticed it, but we did see a small decrease in January, about 5% on our rates.
Well,
I think that we're hoping that this legislation gets passed and signed into law by the governor. I think realistically you could start to see lower rates by the start of next year.
And what percentage are you looking at?
We're shooting for 15%, 15% reduction.
An additional 15%?
Exactly. And that would bring us more into line with at least what people are paying in the rest of New England. We're never going to be a low-cost state. We're not sitting on seams of coal, but there's no reason why Connecticut businesses and consumers should be paying so much more than our neighbors in Rhode Island and Massachusetts and New York.
Right. As we're sitting here at Middlesex Community College, you're a graduate of Wesleyan, I have to ask you, what's your view of the role of Middlesex Community College in Middletown, Durham, and the other districts you represent?
I think Middlesex fills a huge role. At a time when the cost of higher education keeps on soaring, I think higher education and healthcare may be the two fastest growing costs in our society. Community colleges are the last great bargain.
The tuition at Wesleyan must be about $50,000.
It's over $50,000 now per year.
Per year, that's incredible.
Year. It's astounding. I mean, you've got
so $250,000 for a bachelor's degree,
exactly.
Minimum.
And
okay.
but even UConn isn't a bargain anymore. It's a phenomenally expensive and out of reach for many middle class families.
Right.
So, community colleges fill a tremendous role in making sure that higher education is available as an option for the public. And in addition to that, whether or not you want to go for a 2-year degree or if you want to transfer to a 4-year institution, I think that's one option. And then the second is,
would you recommend a community college to your own brother, sister, child,
absolutely.
mother?
Absolutely. I think it's in terms of focusing on the fundamentals, it is a tremendous resource. And then the other part is providing job skills for folks who are out of work, who are looking to
short-term courses, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Develop new skills because we've got to. Some of the folks who are out of work in Middletown and in Middlesex County have skills for which there are no jobs, and there won't be.
So I guess I have to ask you, what is Representative Matt Lesser doing to help the mission of community colleges and, of course, Middlesex Community College in particular?
Well, I think for one thing, one of the things I'm doing is spending a lot of time.
I see you emptying your pockets right here.
Exactly. So I will, aside from leaving my wallet in the drawer as I leave.
We would appreciate
my small token. I don't think you'll get a whole lot out of it, unfortunately. But I think one of the things we need to do is make sure that community colleges are protected in the budget. I know that demand for services at Middlesex is higher than ever, which is a sign that you must be doing something right.
Well, I hope it is.
That was my interpretation. And I think in the initial budget proposal, community colleges were, I think mistakenly but unfairly singled out for a disproportionate portion of the cuts.
Right.
And so one of the things I'm doing is fighting to try to come up with a more equitable balance. You're looking at Middlesex versus the CSU system and UConn, and Middlesex and the other community colleges were unfairly targeted. And I think that was wrong. And
I think most of us feel that shared sacrifice is okay, but it needs to be fair. It needs to be fair. And if the percentage cut is higher for, say, one segment, it happens to be community colleges, than some other segment, that's when we start squawking.
As well you should.
And we are squawking, and I'm glad to hear you're squawking too. In the last minute or so we have, I just want to ask you, do you work with Republicans across the aisle? Do you work mostly with Democrats? How does that work up in Hartford?
Absolutely. Actually, that may be one of our best kept secrets. But no, if you want to get anything done in Hartford, you have to work with Republicans. We have an unusual rule where we let any person sustain a filibuster for as long as they want. Anybody can talk in a committee or on the floor for as long as they want.
Have you ever done that? yourself?
I have not. I talk for as long as I want, but I've never tried to block legislation.
Yeah.
But what that does is it makes you work, forces you to work with the minority.
I bet it does. Time is up.
Oh, okay.
This has been Middlesex Moments. My guest has been Representative Matt Lesser. Take a look at our website, mxcc.comnet, 2Ms, comnet.edu. I'm Jonathan Daube, Interim President of Middlesex Community College. Have a good day.